Hello everyone, and welcome to the 7th installment of VIVENTOR Peer-to-Peer WEBCAST. My name is Andrius, I'm the manager of VIVENTOR Peer-to-Peer Marketplace, and today our focus for this webcast is funds in transit and some news related to that, and of course our loan originators. We have recently launched a special website where we post all our information about funds in transit and our loan originator status. Today I will walk you through this page, how to read it, what information is there, and what information we will be adding to that place, and why in general we launched this funds in transit. Also explain what funds in transit is, and of course comment on some of the loan originators that are that have the biggest delays in funds in transit and biggest amounts right now, or how to deal with what are we doing with them right now. And finally, I will spend some time answering your questions that you asked us on the Slido. I encourage everyone to subscribe to our webcast here on our YouTube channel so that you are always up to date on things that are happening on VIVENTOR. Next time we also will be having some guests on our webcast, so be sure to subscribe and stay with us for more updates. So as a first step, I'll go and introduce you to the Loan Originator Portfolio page. Let me just switch to my view here, and the Loan Originator Portfolio page is located on VIVENTOR main page under Investing with Us menu and Loan Originator Portfolio. On this page, we are listing a table which shows some critical information about loan originators currently present on VIVENTOR platform in alphabetical order. The data you see right now as of making of this video is of June 24th, and we will be updating this data on a weekly basis. So next update should be again later this week. First of all, short information about funds in transit. So what it is, and why did we introduce it in the first place? So in general, funds in transit is a feature that we have introduced immediately following the events after the coronavirus crisis to reflect on the situation that has been happening with our investors and with our loan originators. So normally platforms like VIVENTOR and other peer-to-peer marketplaces, they operate on a settlement basis, meaning that first of all, we exchange information about repayments, about buybacks with our loan originators, and then we issue them information how much money they have to transfer to us, and then they get some kind of a grace period of several days. In our case, it's five business days during which they have to transfer and cover this amount. But in this problematic situations, which was one of the biggest events recently, was the coronavirus crisis. We had a situation when several loan originators had problems to repay the funds in transit because they either got extensions of their loans to their borrowers, and they already had to pay for the buybacks to our investors. And due to this, they got some liquidity issues, and for this reason, they had some delays in repayments to our investors. In addition to that, our investors were more withdrawing funds than depositing new funds, and for this reason, we could have ended up in a situation where VIVENTOR wouldn't have enough funds on the moment to satisfy all withdrawal requests, which was not a case where we want which we could accommodate. And for this reason, we introduced this feature, which clearly shows how much money has actually been transferred to VIVENTOR, and then investors can only use and invest or withdraw the funds that have been transferred first to us, and then, of course, to our investors. So this is basically the reason funds in transit is in place. Normally, as some of you have been already asking, normally funds in transit should mean the time between the information that we have sent to loan originator of how much money they have to pay to VIVENTOR and the time that the funds have actually arrived on our account. So it should be basically a few days during which the payment comes from one bank account to another bank account. But as you will see in our table here, sometimes it takes much more than that. And this is basically for the reason that I explained. When loan originators have a liquidity problem or a cash flow problem, and this can come on just to can come to just due to one major cause, which is a lot of buybacks that have disturbed the regular cash flow of a loan originator. That is the main cause of such events, because if loan originator especially is dealing in a installment loans, so they might have a few installments still going in the future, and when they have a few installments missing, they already have to buy back the whole loan from the investors, while they are still expecting to receive this loan from their original borrower. And in such cases, these gaps can be quite dramatic when the especially in cases like the coronavirus crisis, when a lot of repayments became late for our loan originators, and we ended up with the situation. But this table as well, which you are seeing right now, is serving as a sort of discipline for our loan originators, so that they know, that investors know what is happening on their portfolio, and they are more eager to resolve the payments and the outstanding situation and balances as fast as possible, because they might have other creditors besides VIVENTOR where they are raising money. So we believe that this openness and transparency should help our make our loan originators pay our investors in a more fast manner than they did before. And we already saw first effects of it, which I will shortly explain and going into more detail into this table in a few minutes. So how to read this report? Again, this report will be updated on a weekly basis, so treat it as a snapshot of the latest situation on VIVENTOR platform. So the report consists of a table, which can also be downloaded as an Excel file below. So you can have multiple snapshots downloaded to your computer and compare them with each other. So the first column lists all our loan originators that we have currently active on the platform. The second column, outstanding portfolio, means basically the portfolio which has been invested into. So it's currently invested portfolio by our investors on the VIVENTOR platform of this loan originator. And the number in brackets here below this number is a change since last report. So green means an increase, red means a decrease, and as it is the first report, so it's compared with last week, and then it will be compared to the last report, which you will be also be able to see if you download the Excel file. The next column here, loans available to invest, means shows the number of total sum of loans in euros, how much is still available to invest into this loan originator. So if you're looking at this table, you make an investment decision, you can see how much actually is still available for investment into current loan originator. This means how much loans they have actually posted on VIVENTOR platform. Now, if you look at the next several columns, like next 5 columns basically, they all list the proportions of how the outstanding portfolio of VIVENTOR is distributed into how loans in the outstanding portfolio are distributed based on their delays. Delay means how late is the last installment, is the current installment that loan is on right now. So for payday loans where there is only one installment, it means the only installment, and for installment loans where there are several installments, it means the last installment that is not paid. Green means not delayed. So not delayed means that all installments of this loan has been paid on time, and if the portfolio is, let's say, 100% green, it means that all of the loans that are in portfolio are currently paid on time. It doesn't, of course, mean that all the other loans that you will invest to will definitely be paid on time, but it gives you some kind of perspective of how well the loan originator manages their borrowers, their risk, and how they, in general, manage the company and what risk tolerance they have. Of course, we all know that all our loan originators are not bank lenders. They are subprime lenders or near prime lenders, which means that they are investing into they are lending money to higher risk customers who are usually not able to get loans in a regular banks. That means that they are always on a higher risk scale. That's why we get these higher return rates for our investors as well. So of course it is to be expected that the portfolios will not always be like 100% green, and even in bank cases they are never 100% green. But of course, when you have several loan originators to compare, you can make certain decisions and see which loan originators are more appealing to you. And of course, it is also important then to check if to see what borrowing rates, investment rates each loan originator offers, and make your investment decision based on that as well. So green means not delayed, yellow means delayed for 1 to 30 days, and red means delayed for 30 to 31 to basically 90 days. And the gray one is non-performing. Non-performing loan is the loan that is already not expected to be returned, and we should be either bought back from us if it has a buyback guarantee, or there should be some other legal action against this borrower that should be taken. The chart on the right of these 5 columns show graphical representation of these numbers. So for some people, maybe it is better to read numbers. For some people, it is maybe better to take a look at the colors and see a comparison based on that. And of course, you can also see the same numbers if you download the Excel report. Now comes the funds in transit part of the table, where we see where we show how much funds are actually in transit right now, meaning that how much money we are now expecting from this loan originator. Here, some loan originators don't have any funds in transit. That is because either they paid up all of their funds in transit before, or they collected actually more investments that they had to make repayments. In that case, they also don't have to pay any funds in transit for us and our investors. And for next column, change from last week, shows the change from last week. And here, number in red is a bad indicator. That means that the funds in transit has increased, and green one with a negative number, with a negative sign, means that the loan originator has actually repaid part of their funds in transit. And this also shows some indication for you how well the loan originator performs. Not having a zero number here on the amount step, on the amount column, does not necessarily mean that the loan originator is in a bad shape, because if a loan originator is constantly posting repayments and not collecting as much investments as they are doing repayments, they might have constant funds in transit amount, because they always have to pay something to us. Even on the date when they make a payment, there might be some new funds in transit occurring on the platform, because our platform is like 24/7 in real time. So not a zero number does not necessarily mean a bad situation with loan originator. What you should be looking at, in my opinion, is the change from last week, the percentage of outstanding portfolio, which means how much of the actual portfolio is in transit right now. And this number should be important to you as well here. And of course, the next column here is days overdue, which means for how long the last amount of how long has it been since there is a funds in transit for a loan originator which has never been settled. So if loan originator owes us at least a euro on day one, we are calculating that number here until this euro has been covered. And if they have new debt arising in that period and they are not paying up at all, this number will be increasing. But if they are paying back the older debt, we will be covering the old debt first in, first out basis. So this number will be dropping, and you will still see low number here, but still some funds in transit in amount, because we are on a recurring basis working with our loan originators. So in graphical shape, this is represented on the small area chart here on the last column, and it shows a rolling month, you can say, of funds in transit. And how to read this chart is basically you should be looking at funds in transit that are on a more or less even level. So if you see a constant increase of funds in transit, that means that this loan originator is probably in a is experiencing some troubles with their cash flows right now at the moment. If you see a chart that is gradually decreasing, this means that this loan originator is repaying the funds in transit and is getting back on track. If funds in transit is always in zero, this means that probably this loan originator is simply receiving more investments than making repayments. And of course, does not necessarily mean that they will be that they will not ever be funds in transit in the future. And a gradual shape somewhere in the middle means that they are receiving some repayments, they are posting some repayments, they are receiving some investments, and they are paying everything more or less on time. And a gradual, even shaped chart here should indicate for you that like probably business as usual is happening with this loan originator. And the numbers behind here are also available on the Excel sheet. We did not include them here in this area for restrictions of how much we can actually show on this table, because it's also should be visible on smaller screens. But in Excel, you can see everything that is here. So this is basically the report. Also below the report, we will be listing several updates about our loan originators who have funds in transit that is longer than 30 days, and provide an explanation about how we see what is the situation with these loan originators. And this situation will be obviously, we will be working so that it is resolved as fast as possible. And if we will be taking any action against these loan originators, we will also be posting updates on this page. Of course, in addition, we will be sending emails to investors so that you are always on receive the latest information when there is an update about your investment. So now shortly about the loan originators who have longer funds in transit. So first of all, Twinero. Twinero currently has a lot of funds in transit. They have more than 2 million euros that is past due. Almost all of their investment portfolio is already past due, and it has been dragging ever since we implemented the funds in transit feature for already 80 plus days right now. And we are mostly concerned about this situation with Twinero. And due to this fact that this situation has come to this size, we have temporarily stopped all trade on the VIVENTOR platform of Twinero loans for primary and secondary markets, in order to protect those investors who are not aware of the situation, and in order to avoid any speculation on this case. earlier, a few days ago, we received information from Twinero where they have proposed a repayment schedule according to which they propose to repay part of their portfolio until the end of this year. We have reviewed it. We have also shared it with you so that you see what is going on with this loan originator. It's actually two loan originators belonging to the same company, Twinero and Presto. Twinero is a bigger one. Presto is smaller. They only have 100,000 euros in transit. Only, of course, it's a relative term. And we have sent this company our counter proposal, where we asked for a shorter schedule of maximum 1 to 2 months for the whole portfolio, and to pledge all the portfolio to that they have right now to VIVENTOR, because we don't see how a company trading in payday loans, which have very short repayment terms, could have not receive any funds in the sum of 2 million euros for 80 plus days. And we are still expecting an answer from them due to our counter proposal. And we are, in the meantime, while we are waiting, we are consulting with our lawyers and making legal preparations for our next action should there be no result with them. So we are consulting with lawyers in Spain and in Latvia. So this is the situation with Twinero. Of course, we will be updating our progress with them as soon as there is any. I hope to have it any day. And meantime, just asking you to give us time to work on them and to resolve the situation. Next thing is Monify. Monify had funds in transit for 23 days, according to this report. This report was sent on the 24th, and actually on 25th, Monify has covered this amount that was present here. They have some new funds in transit that has arisen since then, but it's just a few days, and it's still there is some time to recover it. According to explanation we received from Monify, they have been experiencing short problems with cash flow due to the reasons that I explained in the beginning, because of these bigger buybacks that have triggered, and they have resolved the situation now and pay back in full their funds in transit to us. So currently they are back on track. MyCredit, we have here. They also have a big delay of funds in transit, but with them we have signed a schedule where they pay 70,000 euros every 2 weeks, and they have paid 4 out of 6 installments already, and they are paying all of them on time. As you see in the chart on the right, this is reflected, and the funds in transit amount is going down. Of course, there is still an outstanding portfolio which will need to be repaid, and we will be monitoring them very closely, and will take action should there need be. And currently, MyCredit, as you know, is a loan originator, is from Kazakhstan, and in Kazakhstan there was a moratorium on repayments and on interest for loans, and it has been according to our knowledge until mid-June, so it's already past that time. So we're expecting the MyCredit business to also be back on time, and are working with them together to work this out and to repay the whole portfolio. But currently we are not stopping any investments into this loan originator. So that's the information we have right now. And Forza and Credi Bosnia companies, they also have some funds in transit in their portfolios. It's not a big amount. Of course, they don't have a big portfolio as well, because they were not they are not our, let's say, oldest loan originators. They have been on our platforms not that long, and the problem with these loan originators is due to technical issue with the banks. As you know, VIVENTOR has a settlement account with a payment institution called Via Let Pay. It is not a bank. They don't have a banking license. They are payment institution licensed. And Bosnia is a country which is not in European Union. And it appears now that payment institutions within European Union can freely and easily receive funds from anywhere within European Union. But if it comes to a payment from outside, let's say like this case in Bosnia, it might be problematic for banks to connect with each other and to make this payment. And we saw that these payments, we tried it multiple times with Forza, and it got bounced back to them. So now we are in a process to open an account in a bank, which would be used for settlement of non-European union payments like Bosnia here. So currently we are opening this account, and we hope that it will be resolved in the nearest future. And but of course, interest for this period is calculated, and all investors will receive funds with interest for this period. So this is the situation we have right now with our loan originators. Some of them are doing really good and have managed to recover from the crisis quite fast. Some of them are still struggling. Of course, with Twinero, we have a special case, which we are now looking under, how to say, special circumstances and taking special measures against them. But of course, we are in a business of dealing with risky instruments, and from time to time, certain problems are to be expected. And I want to assure you that me and my team and our lawyers, which we have in several countries already, are doing all we can to resolve this matter, and we will be posting more updates as it unfolds. So stay with us, and hope to get through this with as fast as possible. Now, the final part of my webcast today is to talk about some of the questions that you asked us on the Slido page. So let me turn to that, and let us quickly go through them. First question, Martin is asking, is it correct that Atlantis changed buyback from 90 to 60 days? Does this only apply for new loans or also for existing ones? So yeah, last year, end of year, we changed Atlantis buyback term from 90 to 60 days because it was older agreement, and we saw that they have no reason to have it for such a long time. And they welcomed that idea, and this change has applied to all of their loans, both existing and new ones. So on the day when we changed the buyback from 90 to 60, we changed it for Loan Originator Atlantis, and they have it has affected all of their portfolio. Again, Martin is asking, can you please add a 40 to the Loan Originator Portfolio page, as the loans are not paid back yet? They should be included in the overview. And the same question is asked in the bottom of the list by Philip. To get a total of problem outstanding loans, I'm missing a 40 from the list. Can this be added? I'd really like to add it here to this list, but right now with a 40, we have a settlement agreement, which basically has a clause that a 40 should be not visible and present on VIVENTOR platform right now, as we have no longer investments into them happening, and we are communicating about their status with only those investors who have invested into 40 loans. So we honor our part of the agreement, and we want them to honor their part, which basically means to pay back the the investments that they currently keep, that they currently have, and as you know from our earlier reports, we are taking several measures against this company, but for operational reasons, I'm not yet at liberty to explain what they are, but I assure you that whenever there is an update about it, we will be keeping it there. And I hope that as a resolution will come, we will again be have the liberty and be able to post all the information about this company on our page, on our blogs, on our social channels. I definitely would like this information to be there, believe me. But I also want to honor at least our part of the deal, so that this company does not have any objection to the agreement that we have with them. So question number 3. Philip is asking that funds in transit sounds like it has been paid by counterpart and is only delayed by the bank, but this appeared not to be the case here. What is your definition? So yeah, in the beginning I try to define this explanation, how we see funds in transit and what logic we put behind it. So it's true in that case when the counterpart, like the borrower, has repaid to the loan originator. From that moment on, it should be considered as funds in transit, but it also means that a buyback guarantee has been triggered, and it also means funds in transit, but it not always means necessarily that loan originator has all of the funds to repay on time. Of course, all loan originators try to be growing companies, etc. So they usually invest quite a lot into the new business, but of course they have to have some reserves available so that they have to have a possibility to repay to investors on time. And this can be regulated several ways. We are looking into these alternatives. One alternative is to have high fines for all funds that are in transit, and to have to force loan originators to have these reserves, so that it make more business sense for them to have the reserves in case there is funds in transit, rather than to face a big fine. Of course, this also means that such fines could potentially even more disturb the cash flow situation and liquidity situation on the loan originator side. So we have to somehow balance it out. So what we are currently looking at this and see and try to create new rules and the restrictions for loan originators to be more ready and willing to pay for the funds in transit. Another idea is to use collateral of portfolio and to pledge the portfolio in case it is let's say a consumer loan portfolio. There is actually no real estate or assets like tangible assets to pledge, but it is possible to pledge the whole or part of the portfolio up to a certain amount. And in this case, if in case there is a problem of on the loan originator side to repay to us, and the loan originator is non-cooperative, we would have a direct claim not only to the loans that are on the portfolio, like the direct claim to the borrowers, but we could also claim part of their active portfolio, which is not necessarily even on the VIVENTOR page, to collect the funds coming in from those borrowers who are paying to them, in case the loan originator is not paying to VIVENTOR on time. And Dimitar is asking, how exactly will you protect the interests of investors? Funds in transit, it looks like they will arrive from another galaxy. We are part of the SEPA area. So basically, this question sums up the two things that I described. So one thing is that what is this funds in transit, and sometimes we are part of SEPA area, sometimes we are not, when the case is with, for example, Bosnia. I didn't catch that. Could you? Sorry about that. And yeah, sometimes it is a case of technical issue, like case with Bosnia. Sometimes it is a issue with some problems on the loan originator side. Current measures, as we see, are not can be improved on our side. One thing is that we need to add more incentive on our agreements with loan originators for them to be willing and ready to pay much faster than they are doing right now. Of course, these conditions and restrictions should be applied not to all loan originators, but at least to those with whom we see the biggest risk. And another step is, of course, to have a so this can come in two forms. One is higher fines and higher fees that they would be paying in case there is a problem from their end. Another solution is to have more security and more collateral for us and our investors. So we're moving in both directions right now. Going through our agreement and seeing which parts we should review and update with our loan originators, and also with on which loan originators we should implement more securities. Updates on that will come definitely later on. And yeah, so the last question I already answered because it was related to the second one here. So I hope this sheds even more light on our situation with our loan originators, on funds in transit that we have right now, and what's in general going on with VIVENTOR. Otherwise, I think we're doing pretty good. We have we were able to overcome this biggest downfall of the coronavirus crisis. We see that our investors are coming back. We have increased. We have seen an increase in new investors. We have seen an increase in our portfolio back again, and we are also continuing our progress with the license, with the brokerage license that we are hope to receive in the third quarter of this year. And of course, there will be some more news on the loan originator side. With several of them, we are currently in negotiations, and I hope that soon we will be able to bring you some good news about new possibilities to invest into new instruments and new loan originators in very interesting countries and very interesting products. So thank you for staying with us. Thank you for being with us through the hard times. I hope that these hard times will not only be a test of our relationship, but also will show that the platform, VIVENTOR, our team, and our loan originators with whom we're working can overcome even the hard times, and that if we can survive this, then in good times we should be doing even better. So thank you once again for viewing this webcast. Stay tuned, sign up if you haven't yet, and see you again in our next webcast. My name is Andrius, and I'm the manager of VIVENTOR. Thank you, and bye-bye.